why do you want to be a champion? Or what do you want to accomplish? Why are you training? And they will, if a guy will get up and he will say, well, I want to train because I think that if I get muscular and, I feel like I'm getting the kind of definition, then I maybe can enter a bodybuilding competition. I said, sit down. I said, if you think this way, you're going to be a loser. You're never going to make it because there's no maybe. You got to get up and say, I want to be a champion.
And this last 2 or 3 or 4 repetitions, that's what makes actually the muscle then grow. And that divides then one from a champion and one from not being a champion. If you can go through this pain barrier, you make it to be a champion. If you can't go through, forget it. And that's where most people lack, is on this having the guts to go in and just say, I go through and I don't care what happens. It aches, and if I fall down, I have no fear of fainting in a gym, because I know it could happen. I threw up many times while I was working out, but it doesn't matter, because it's all worth it.
So I had to kind of accomplish something big that takes me to America. And then when I read about this guy, Reg Park, who won Mr. Universe 3 times, and then became a star in Hercules movies, and then was in Italy filming, and then in Hollywood filming, I felt that could be the ticket. I should become Mr. Universe. I should become kind of a second Reg Park. Of course, no one really bought into that. My parents thought I was totally insane. And I remember that I hung up pictures above my bed, for inspiration, pictures of Reg Park in his posing trunks and all that. My mother was so concerned, she called the local doctor, and she had him analyze the wall because she thought that there's something terribly wrong, that I have naked man above my bed, and all of my buddies had women hanging above their bed, and so she was concerned about that. And but I think that my parents really thought that there was something terribly wrong of being that driven. Because I would come home at lunchtime, and then instead of having lunch, I would do 200 sit-ups. And then at night, I would go to the stadium and I would be lifting weights. I would come home at 10 o'clock at night and I would be continually lifting weights. So it was like one of this insanity in the military. I would continue lifting weights no matter how the training was and how tough the basic training was. I would always then lift weights afterwards. And as a tank driver, I would have on the side of the tank in the toolbox, I would have my weights, my barbells, and my dumbbells, and my exercise bench and everything there in order to be, at any given time, if we stopped driving the tank and maneuvers at 2 in the morning, I would be able to pull out my weights and again lift for 2 hours my weights. So I was really a fanatic about the whole thing, but it's the only way you really get where the way I succeeded, because I became at the age of 20 the youngest Mr. Universe in London in the history of bodybuilding, because the youngest before then was Reg Park, the guy I was talking about, with the age of 24, but I became the youngest with 20, but it was because I was like so serious about the whole thing, and it worked. With the age of 21, after I won my second Mr. Universe title, I got an invitation from Joe Weider, who was the publisher of all the muscle magazines in America, and also the person that had the biggest warehouses of weight training equipment and had food supplement companies and all this. And he brought me to America, and so there I was. 6 years after my dream started, I was in America. I think it's the most important thing that we have a very clear vision of where we go, a goal, where do we go? Because you can have the best ship in the world, you can have the best cruise liner, but if the captain does not know where to go, that ship will drift around the world and out there at sea and will never end up anywhere. And this is exactly the way it is in real life. If you don't have a goal, if you don't have a vision, you just drift around and you're not going to be happy. This is why it is so important to have that vision. Now, I created that vision in Austria because I grew up after the Second World War. Austria, right along with Germany, lost the Second World War, thank God. And the problem was that everyone was so depressed because they lost the war, that there was alcoholism everywhere. There was, of course, depression. There was a terrible economic situation. There was famine. There was starvation and all of those things. And also it was kind of a little place and narrow. I felt I wanted to get out of there. I wanted to escape. And I couldn't see myself really to work there and to stay there, to work in a factory, or to work on a farm, or to even to follow my father's footsteps and to become a police officer. I couldn't see that either. As a matter of fact, that's what my parents wanted me to do. They wanted me to become a police officer and to marry a girl by the name of Heidi and to have a bunch of children and to run around like the Von Trapp family in The Sound of Music. But that's not what I saw. This was the vision of my parents, but not mine. And luckily, one day in school, I watched a documentary about America. And I found myself, I knew exactly that is where I wanted to end up. I wanted to be in America. There's a problem with time. But the day has 24 hours, and we sleep 6. Now, I know there's some out there that say, whoa, I need 8. Well, I say just sleep a little faster. Because the bottom line is we have 6 hours of sleep, 24 hours are available, so you have 18 hours now available to your work, your family, your hobbies, and also to learn something new or to do something new, which could easily be that you want to learn a new language, or that you want to read as a New Year's resolution, I have to read a book every week, or you say, I'm going to go and reshape my body. So you're going to go and take this hour out of your schedule and say, I'm going to train an hour every day. So this is, for most people, a huge challenge, but it is totally doable, I can tell them, because the kind of things that I did when I came to this country, I mean, I went to school, I was working in construction, I was working out my 5 hours a day, I was taking acting classes from 8 o'clock at night to 12 midnight, I was doing all of those things. I wanted to make sure that out of the 24 hours of the day, that I don't waste one single hour. Those hours were too precious. And so there I just want to tell people, don't give me this thing, I have a difficult time with the time and I don't have time for this and I don't have that. You have time, you make the time. Important, but the mind is more important than the body. We have to visualize what that body ought to look like in order to make it win, because that's what creates then the will that you need to go to the gym every day. The will that makes you go into the 4 reps, the will that makes you go beyond and you do your 500-pound reps in the squats and you can't do another rep and your body is shaking. It's the will that makes you go one more time down and struggle up one more time. And so it's all of this, so the mental aspect that motivates you and that makes the difference between you being in the gym full of joy and looking forward to doing that extra rep and looking forward to doing those extra 100 reps in the sit-ups and working past the pain period. That all is the mind, that's not the body. So this is why I think the body is very important, but the mind is more important than the body. We have so many rules in life about everything. I say break the rules, not the law, but break the rules. My wife has a t-shirt that says, well-behaved women rarely make history. Well, you know, I don't want to burst the bubble, but the same is true with man. It is impossible to be a maverick or a true original if you're too well behaved and don't want to break the rules. You have to think outside the box. That's what I believe. After all, what is the point of being on this earth if all you want to do is be liked by everyone and avoid trouble? The only way that I ever got any place was by breaking some of the rules. After all, I remember that after I was finished with my bodybuilding career, I wanted to get into acting and I wanted to be a star in films. You can imagine what the agents said when I went to meet all those agents. Everyone had the same line that it can't be done. The rules are different here. Just look at your body. You have this huge, monstrous body, overly developed, that doesn't fit into the movies. You don't understand. This was 20 years ago, the Hercules movies. Now there's the little guys that are in, Dustin Hoffman, Woody Allen, Jack Nicholson, before he gained weight, of course, that is. But anyway, those are the guys that were in. And the agent also complained about my accent. He says, no one ever became a star with an accent like that, especially not with a German accent. And yes, I can imagine with your name, Arnold Schwarzenegger, or whatever the name is, on a billboard. Yeah, that's going to draw a lot of tickets and sell a lot of tickets. Yeah, right. So this is the kind of negative attitude they had, but I didn't listen to those rules. Even though they were very nice, they said, look, we can get you some bit parts. We can get you to be playing a wrestler or a bouncer. Oh, maybe with your German accent we can get you to be a Nazi officer in Hogan's Heroes or something like that.
But, you know, I didn't listen to orders. These were their rules, not my rules. I was convinced I could do it, that if I worked as hard as I did in bodybuilding, 5 hours a day, and I started getting to work, I started taking acting classes, took English classes, took speech classes, dialogue classes, accent removal classes I even took. I remember running around, a fine wine grows in a vine. You see, because Germans had difficulties with the F and the W and the V. It's a fine wine grows in a vine. I know what some of you now say is I hope that Arnold got his money back. But let me tell you something. I had a good time doing those things and it really helped me. And finally I broke through. I broke through and I started getting the first parts in TV, streets of San Francisco. Lucille Ball hired me. I made Pumping Iron, Stay Hungry. And then I got the big break in Conan the Barbarian.